Hello, my name is Dr. Becky Muradás-Taylor, and I'm going to talk to you today about my new article just out in the Journal of Language and Speech called Accuracy and Stability in English Speakers' Production of Japanese Pitch Accent. Now, pitch accent in Japanese is the way you can distinguish words using pitch. So, for example, hashi is chopsticks and hashi is bridge. Hashi, hashi, you change the pitch and that changes the meaning of the word. So I'm going to talk about my article and then I'm going to talk about the relevance of my article to my teaching, especially the third year module, second language grammar and phonology. I was inspired to do this research many years ago. I was teaching English in Japan, thinking about coming back to the UK, getting a qualification before I came, doing some internet research, and came across some articles looking at the pitch accent of learners of Japanese who had English as their first language, and realised at that point that I'd been speaking Japanese for 6 years fairly fluently and seemed not to have picked up pitch accent naturally. I said the words to myself like hashi, 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 hashi. Every time I said them, they sounded the same. And that was fascinating to me, that there was an aspect of Japanese that existed and that despite using the language for several years, I seemed just not to have acquired. So in the research, I had two groups of learners, more or less experienced. So the less experienced group of learners were from the UK, had English as their first language, studying Japanese at university, either in their first or second year, hadn't yet been abroad. The more experienced group had done their whole Japanese degree, including the year abroad. So it had more time in Japan, more time studying Japanese. And what I looked at was accuracy, so the match with standard Japanese, and also stability. So I put words in different sentences and had a look to see if they were produced with the same pitch accent or different. And what I found was that the experience made no difference at all. The two groups were the same, all had really low accuracy, so low match with standard Japanese. And also the stability was low. There was lots of changes in pitch accent when words were put in different sentences. So that was a relief, because it turns out it's not just me. It seems like there's something in the linguistic systems between Japanese and English that makes pitch accent really difficult to acquire. What I do in the paper is I compare my research to previous research looking at production and also perception, the hearing of Japanese pitch accent. And by comparing them, I argue that the thing that's difficult is probably something to do with memory, that when we learn new words in Japanese, we might learn the vowels and consonants, but not learn the pitch accent. In the paper, I also think about the implications for the Japanese language teaching classroom. We probably need some more research around comprehensibility and intelligibility. So how easy people find us to understand and how easy we actually are to understand when we use English accented Japanese. But anecdotally, what I expect is that using pitch accent in this way doesn't have a big effect on comprehensibility and intelligibility. And of course, I say that because I was using Japanese for 6 years without making these pitch distinctions, and the participants in my study also are successful users of Japanese. And so I propose, based on that in the Japanese language classroom, we should probably embrace the diversity that you find in accents of Japanese. Actually, in different parts of the country, the pitch accent is different. And our learners too, I guess you could say, speak a variety of Japanese that doesn't have pitch accent. So I suggest we could embrace that. And that's one of the implications of my study. So the kind of things we've discussed in this article chime very much with the topics in the third year module, second language grammar and phonology. And it's a good module because it really ranges from very pure to very applied. So we use linguistic symbols and terminology and analysis to describe second language speech. Then we use theory to think about how the first language influences the second language. And then we think about social implications. What does it mean for you in society using that language, how well you're understood, issues around identity, social issues, for example, around discrimination, and then, of course, implications for the classroom. So a really broad module going from the pure to the applied. Thank you very much for listening.